Several states holding key primary elections tomorrow, and that includes hotly contested races in Alabama, Kentucky, and Pennsylvania. Idaho and Oregon are also holding primaries. So is the state of Georgia, where several Republicans are vying for the chance to face off against incumbent Democratic Senator Jon Ossoff in November. There are also crowded primaries on both sides of the aisle in the race to succeed Republican Governor Brian Kemp, who is term limited. CBS News correspondent Skyler Henry knows all about what's happening down in Georgia. He joins us now live from Atlanta this Monday. Skyler, great to see you. Your state, where you're reporting, already broke an early voting record. So what should we know about the races for U.S. Senate and governor there, and how the president may be weighing on the outcome?
Well, to use a basketball metaphor, Errol, it is a jump ball in so many of these races here in Georgia. Let's start with the Senate. You pointed out what we're seeing on the Democratic side as an ambulance passes by with the incumbent Senator Jon Ossoff. He is running unopposed. But on the Republican side, that is where it gets incredibly interesting. We're outside of a Get Out the Vote event that is set to start in about an hour for Derek Dooley, who is a former college football coach who has an incredibly famous last name in this state. He is running essentially in lockstep with the current Republican governor, Brian Kemp, who has supported him ever since it was announced that he did not want to run for Senate. We will be paying attention to that, and there's also two others running in this race, two members of Congress, and Congressman Buddy Carter and Mike Collins, both of whom have touted themselves as MAGA warriors, touting their conservative records, and have also been in some hotly contested political ad campaigns as well. I think it will be interesting to see what happens in those races tomorrow, and for that matter, what happens as it relates to an endorsement from President Trump. Now, as it relates to governor, on the Democrat side, we have someone who is pretty recognizable in and around Metro Atlanta. That is the former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, who is widely viewed as the front runner in that race. She is also expected to run an interesting race because she did not run for a second term as mayor. And so a lot of questions and criticism there in terms of questioning whether she has the capacity and is available to want to run for governor. There are also others who have several longstanding views and reputations here in the state of Georgia as well. That includes the former Republican Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan, who is widely viewed as an outsider in this race, but is someone who went toe-to-toe with President Trump, so to speak, Errol. Back in 2020, you'll remember when the president made that phone call to the Secretary of State here, as well as others at the top of the state here, calling on them to overturn or look for votes to try to overturn the results here in the state of Georgia. And so I think it'll be interesting to see what Duncan has to say. Lots of interesting storylines all across the board, up and down this ballot.
All right, Skyler Henry with a comprehensive summary of it all. Skyler, thank you.
CBS News projects that Trump-endorsed Congresswoman Julia Letlow and Louisiana State Treasurer John Fleming, that they both knocked out incumbent Bill Cassidy in Louisiana's Senate Republican primary. This comes more than 5 years after the Republican senator voted to convict President Trump in his impeachment trial over the January 6th Capitol riots. In his concession speech, Cassidy then took a thinly veiled swipe at the president. Take a listen.
I've been able to participate in democracy. And when you participate in democracy, sometimes it doesn't turn out the way you want it to. But you don't pout, you don't whine, you don't claim the election was stolen.
Let's bring in CBS News political director Fin Gómez. Fin, there's a lot going on with all these primaries across the country. Talk to us a bit about Senator Cassidy, because, you know, he has been an outspoken critic of President Trump, especially on health care matters, since he is a doctor. This comes now 5 years after he voted against the president during the impeachment trials after January 6th. Break this down for us.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the inflection point of what you just mentioned. I mean, this loss was years in the making from the moment the Senator Cassidy cast that vote to impeach the president after January 6th. He was essentially a marked man inside his party, and the president made it known that this would happen on Saturday in the Louisiana primary, and was part of the president's retribution tour this midterm cycle. First, of course, Adriana, was the Indiana state Republican senators who defied the president on their big redistricting push, and 6 of those faced challengers in those primaries and lost. And of course, you have Senator Cassidy on Saturday. Now the next step is Kentucky, where you have Congressman Thomas Massie, really the next one up, who's facing that sort of massive incoming from the Trump's from the president's political operation. So that's really something to watch there. But this is really the overwhelming narrative right now in this story is that, you know, if you defy the president in these primaries, more often than not, they're going to have some consequences, political ones.
And yesterday, Finn, on Face the Nation, Margaret Brennan asked Pennsylvania Republican Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick about this election result. Let's just listen to what they said.
Is the message here for Republicans that if you dissent from the president, he's going to take you down?
Well, it's one of the many reasons, Margaret, why we need to open primaries up in all 50 states.
So, Finn, what do you think? Does the president's influence on primaries, is it helping or hurting Republicans' shot during the midterms?
I mean, it's really a bit hard to say at this point. You know, yes, the president's endorsement still holds major sway. We've seen candidates he backs win in these red states and in red districts. But the bigger question is what happens in these battleground districts? What happens in these frontline districts during the general election? So, yes, he has an imprint in these Republican primaries, but in the general election, especially in these close matchups, will it actually do more harm than good for those purple races? So that's really what the question is here. But what we're seeing now in these respective races and these primaries, that the president still has a very strong hold. It is his party, Errol.
All right, Finn Gómez, across all of it, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And do not forget, Major Garrett will lead the CBS News politics team's special coverage tomorrow night starting at 8 p.m. Eastern right here on CBS News 24/7.